Hey everyone, it's Connory from the ConoghCast, and in my last talk I talked about part 3 of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anime, and to some controversy I believe, I said something about part 1 of JoJo. And even though the video has only one comment, the one comment's about part 1 of JoJo, and because I was going to do a JoJo video anyway, I decided to start with my thoughts on part 1 of JoJo and my full explanation of why I don't like JoJo, as well as some extra stuff for you guys, like some of my favorite stands, arcs, the review of episode 3 of the anime, and some other stuff I'm going to cover in this shorter video. And the main feature of the video, starting off right at the bat, why I don't like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1, manga and anime. I'm not a huge fan of Hirohiko Araki's buff guy designs. I think they are way out of proportion for any universe, and I'm also not a fan of Fist of the North Star's art style. Which sadly, or not even sadly, because either way, like, the art style of both is great, but it influenced the first two parts and the third of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I think Hirohiko Araki's art style is at its best when he does his skinnier, less masculine, more feminine characters. There's a certain level of like finesse you can see with his art style when he draws his characters like that. I'm not trying to force a man who I can't force to do anything to draw characters in a specific way, but I think it makes his characters more believable. Because as where it stands, or stood rather, with the buff characters they didn't look believable, they didn't look real, they didn't look like they could happen. And in a manga, when you're on planet Earth and shit, I feel as a story creator, you have to make it within the realms of possibility, and everybody being buff is not within the realms of possibility. I don't know. I also feel like JoJo's signature homoeroticism was more prevalent in part 1 and part 2. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just like the character designs themselves just seemed so I can't find the right words, but I'm gonna say self-engaged to the point where they're like almost autoerotic. For like, I don't know, the art style just bugs me, and the story itself is also not a JoJo story. You know, part 1 introduces Dio, part 1 introduces vampirism, part 1 introduces Hamon. But where it stands, it's such a linear event that happens that, like, I wouldn't really classify it as a JoJo story. JoJo usually isn't linear like that. It's all over the place not all over the place so far. From parts 1 to 3, they have a linear goal. The goal is part 1, Dio. Part 2, the Ultimate Aja. Part 3 is Dio again. And to get there, they have paths. Part 1's path is straightforward. Dio basically walked 50 meters away from the Joestar mansion. Let's go find him, train how to do Hamon, and beat the shit out of Dio. Part 2 is we've got to go over the fucking place. We gotta go to Italy. We gotta go to America. We gotta go do shit. Or we are in America. We gotta go do shit. We gotta learn how to do Hamon. We gotta be crazy. We gotta win. And then part 3 is let's go all over the fucking world till we get to Egypt. Well, they didn't go all over the world, but they weren't so linear. Part 1 is just like we're on the road. We're now in a catacomb. We are by a lake. We're now in a mansion. And the key character, or the JoJo in that arc, is just so boring. He's so bland. He's just there. Like, I'm not a fan of the Hamon parts of JoJo's. Those are the first two, but part two's Joseph is way more interesting. He has a character. Jonathan doesn't really have a character. He is just there. He's bland. The characters around him essentially amplify his character from being bland to slightly likable. He's a stand-up. He's a moral compass, and as a JoJo's shouldn't always be moral compasses. They should. I'm not gonna try and say what they should and shouldn't be, but I feel like moral compasses in general just make for lame, boring characters. And to make your main character a moral compass is a problem, in my eyes. But if you like it, you like it. The biggest reason why I usually dismiss the first two arcs of JoJo, besides the fact that Joseph's really cool, is Hamon itself. I think Hamon is so lame, like you don't even know. Hamon stopped being relevant at a certain part in part 3. Hamon doesn't matter after that. Nobody can do Hamon after that. It stands all the way. And I think like Hamon isn't even in part 7. When they reboot fucking JoJo, Hamon's not in it. So Hamon is no longer relevant. I don't even think Araki cares about Hamon anymore. I never cared about Hamon in the beginning. I thought it was boring. It wasn't really a cool power. Like, it was just there. It was just, hey, I'm gonna channel, like, life force into you, vampire. And when you think about, like, stands are, like, psychological. They're all crazy and metaphysical and stuff. I'm gonna go with the metaphysical is cooler than the spiritual in this sense. Like, Hamon is the spiritual. Stands are metaphysical. And in all cases, when those two are brought up to me, the metaphysical always wins over the spiritual, because to me, spiritual is too intangible. It's metaphysical. Metaphysical has a certain level of tangibility within the realm of metaphysical, if you get what I'm saying. And I'm just fucking rambling now. So, moving away from my hatred, it wasn't a hatred, but it's a dislike of part 1. I just thought, to close off the JoJo stuff, because I don't want to ever do top 10s for it or any other stuff, besides a big thing that will come up way later, what are some of my favorite stands? Of recent memory, because I finished JoJo a while ago, or part 7 a while ago, and that's where I've got up to. I haven't even started JoJolion. My favorite stands usually belong to the main enemies. And I think you know where I was gonna... I think you can try to guess where I'm gonna go. But you probably aren't gonna win. I'm sure you assume that it's either the world or King Crimson. But those aren't really my favorite stands. Okay, the world's really cool. Both versions of the world are really cool. SBR and SC world are really cool. But my favorite stand is Killer Queen, because its design is really cool. I like cats, and Killer Queen is just based off a cat, and it just looks rad. And I like to judge how good a stand is on its practicality, how it can help the user attain what they want. And Killer Queen is really useful if you're a serial killer, because Killer Queen has remote destructive powers. Extremely. It's not extremely remote. It's limited, as everything is, but I'm just thinking if, like, to be a serial killer in that universe, that stand, you fucking won. Like, I think Kira was a serial killer for a couple years, maybe even more than a decade. Oh no, he was 30-something, so it couldn't be more than a decade. But he was a serial killer, and he was getting away with it because his stand is rad. Just design-wise, it's like awesome looking. Power-wise, really useful if you were in that universe and you want. Stands are really only useful if they help what you want to do. Like, you can't have a stand that has all these crazy powers, and you want to be a baker, and you have like the world's time stop abilities. What's that going to help you with? You know? Like, Dio and his stand work really well because Dio is Dio, and the world is just basic, like, super strong, but time stopping. And the time stopping is almost unnecessary, where everything that Killer Queen can do is necessary for Kira to get away with shit. So that he can do everything super hard. Stand users can't catch him until they do catch him in part 4. I don't know. Other stands, Sethan, I really like Sethan. Because it's based off, I really, really like Darkstalkers. And I like playing as Dimitri. And one of my favorite moves in fighting games ever, like my favorite move, is Midnight Bliss. Because it's just so fun and stupid to do it in games with a lot of characters, like versus games where Dimitri can do Midnight Bliss with a lot of characters. Because those make some of the best comp videos ever. Alessi, or I don't think it's Alessi's stand. It might be. Steven can do that, but he de-ages you. And it's really cool in the Dreamcast fighting game to do that and to see all the characters' young selves. Most notably, old Joseph becomes Battle Tendency Joseph, and it looks cool. It's silly. It's goofy and dorky stuff that I just love. Of course the world's going to be on my favorite stands. Why wouldn't the world be there? All of them are super cool. So is Scary Monsters, but that's just sort of a pure design element. Like, Scary Monsters looks awesome. But I don't really like main hero stands. Like, also stands like design, like the design of the stand will influence me heavily on how much I'm gonna like and remember it. All of the automaton stands, like the stands look like robots. I remember all of them. Like Golden Experience, fucking Stone Free. Most of the stands in part 6 look very automatonish and robotic, and it's like also part 8 from the stands I've seen. Soft and Wet looks really cool, and I'm gonna start part 8 in like a month, and I can't wait just to see the stand designs. I felt that in my first video about JoJo, ConoghCast talk to the thing about JoJo. It's not its name, but fuck it, I'm not gonna say it again. I talked about JoJo, the future of JoJo, and I focused more on why I don't think it's ever, or I never focused on why I didn't think it was going to come out. I was just saying, it's not going to come out here. It's not going to get localized, and they're going to miss this hot IP because they're not going to do it. And I think I should just say why I didn't think they were going to do it and why I don't think it's going to come out. Because it's not very fair to just make these things and not tell you why. The reason why I think JoJo will never come out here is not the homoeroticism, but the art style itself doesn't seem like it would appeal to Western audiences because it's too fabulous. I know a lot of Western audiences love it. It looks so fabulous. Specifically, there's a big female audience for JoJo, as well as a male one, that just like its art style so much. And that's one of the main things they like about it. That's what got me into it, is because I started with the later parts, and I'm like, this is gorgeous. I don't think it's going to come out for that reason, because who is going to pick up that kind of manga? Who do you think in America is going to pick up that manga, or Europe really is going to pick up that manga? Because when you think of manga publications, who do you think of? Viz. And to a lesser degree, Dark Horse. But like, I don't even like think of Dark Horse as a manga publisher. So I don't really think Viz is going to pick up JoJo again, because when they did pick up JoJo for part 3, it was a fucking mess. They had to censor everything, remove stuff, change stuff. Alterations had to be made. JoJo stuff won't come out because this name is this. So I don't think companies want the problem that JoJo is. Because JoJo names, if you didn't know, a lot, like most, if not, okay, I'm not going to say all, but most JoJo characters are named after music stuff. Literally most of them, most of the stands are named after music stuff. So when you have that, and you have a country that has lax copyright laws like Japan, you can get away with it. You can get away with having stands named Killer Queen and Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, and you can have characters named AC/DC and Cars and Wham and Suzy Q, and you can get away with it. In America, you can't. You can't get away with that. Band names are copyrighted. Song names are copyrighted. Imagine something coming out, like a book coming out named like Born This Way or Metallica or Aerosmith. Do you think it would be able to come out? I don't, because I think the lawyers of these bands would fuck that book up. Tell them no, tell them you have to change it. And like, think of it like there's a Part 5 video game on PS2 made by Capcom. That's really cool. It looks really good. That was supposed to come out everywhere. It didn't, because Prince caused problems because of the name of Giorno Stand being the name of his first studio album. And his lawyers caused problems. They wouldn't change it, Like ASB coming out now, everything's changed. Like Crazy Diamonds, like Shining Diamond and all this stuff. Like, come on. I don't want to see it changed. One of the reasons why I like JoJo is because I like that there's so much music references. I like that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is cool to me. I like music. And but changing that stuff slightly ruins JoJo. So do you really want it to come out slightly ruined, slightly altered, greatly altered? I don't. I really like JoJo. I don't want to see that happen to JoJo. So I will read scanlations, and when I can, I will pick up volumes of JoJo in Japanese, leave them on my shelf, and go steal it again. Somebody would probably ask me eventually, if people do watch my stuff, would be, what's your favorite arc of JoJo since you like JoJo so much? And when I first read JoJo, I was under the impression Part 6 would be my favorite arc. It was, until I read Part 7. Then I reread Part 4, because I skipped over Diamonds Not Crash heavily. And, I got a new thing. So I'm going to give you my order of JoJo arcs minus Part 8. So it would start at Part 7, Steel Ball Run, just with the pure fact that Steel Ball Run's art style is almost rebooted from JoJo itself. It's this really new, this is the 2007 look of JoJo. Do you like it kind of look? No, you know that do you like it part, but this like the newer, we're moving into the 21st century era of JoJo look. This isn't your 2001 Stone Ocean anymore. So I would start with Part 7. I would move to Part 4. Now, a weird opinion, I must agree. Why is Part 4 your favorite arc? Part 4 is really boring. Part 4 is self-inclusive. Part 4 is in just one place. That makes Part 4 better, because I liked Moriocho way more than I liked Egypt. Because Morio, you get to grow with Morio. Like, Morio's there, and you're always going to be a Morio for those 10 volumes, or 12 volumes. You're not going to go anywhere. And you're going to know, locations, and why locations are named certain things. It's crazy. So Part 7, Part 4, Part 3, Part 2, Part 6, Part 5, Part 1. I know. Why is Part 5 at the end? Part 5 is at the end because all this Part 5 is one, Part 5 and Part 1 are at the end because the scanlations for both of those suck. I haven't got a single completed version of Part 5 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure ever. And I love Italy. And I'm not going to be unfair and not put it higher when I haven't finished reading it. I've only read 3 volumes of Part 5. So it has to be at the end. Part 1, you know why it's at the end. All the other parts before, so let's just recap. Part 7, Part 4, Part 3, Part 6. Part 2, Part 6, Part 5, Part 1. I'll probably put that in the description. And just on like right after I made the JoJo video, I thought of new JoJo games. And the thing that came to my mind is somebody crazy picking up JoJo and making a character action game. And I run these scenarios through my head all the time. It's my favorite manga series. Why wouldn't I? I'm sure Naruto fans do the exact same thing. Character action game made by fill in the blank. And also CyberConnect 2's Ultimate Ninja series, pretty good. Why wasn't the JoJo fighting game like that? Were they trying to avoid like, hey, you're just copy pasting your same thing again? Because I think that one-on-one like that would play way better than All-Star Battle played. I really don't think they're gonna do another fighting game for JoJo. Personally, I think they're just gonna try to build up on ASB and make bigger and better builds for it. I don't think there's gonna be a brand new JoJo fighting game like JoJo's Bizarre Arena. As much as I want that, I don't think anybody's gonna pick it up as a fighting game license. I really think character action games for JoJo are gonna come out. Like one maybe on part 3 or part 2 or part 4 or part 5 or part 6 or whatever. Probably not part 7 because that's very horse racing. But I think that's the future of JoJo video games. If JoJo video games keep getting made. Because they've tried like RPGs, they've tried action. Or they haven't tried action. That's the genre they haven't tried. I messed up because they did try action twice. They've done fighting games. Let's do character action again. Figure character action out. Yeah, because I really think character action worked good for JoJo. I want to see how the Part 5 game plays. Then, with that, let's make a big fat character action game off all the arcs of JoJo. And right after the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure video got posted, or got made, I watched episode 3 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders. And I was so pissed off at myself that I recorded the whole thing without watching episode 3. Oh my god. I'm so sorry, Stardust Crusaders, for all the things I said about you. They weren't fair. You are really, really, really good. Like, part 3 just makes it. You get the ending. You get the animation. You know, not much happens in episode 3, but episode 3 reassured me. And if you don't know what I'm saying, watch the OVA of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. They cut out so much shit and they took so many liberties with the manga. This doesn't seem to be doing that. This seems to be adapting the manga the right way, but not removing stuff from it. Because right at the end, I thought they were going to skip a bunch of stand users. Like the unimportant ones. Like, I think it's the Devils on the plane. No, it's not. What is it? I can't remember. Hanged Man? Yeah, Hanged Man, I think, is on the plane. And he's got a Scarabeetle stand. And they skipped that in the OVA. And I thought, they're going to skip it in this one. They don't need him. I thought that's what they were going to do. And I'm also sorry to say that a new studio did part 3, because it isn't a new studio. But yeah, back to they didn't. They showed the preview with the bug flying around on the plane. And I'm like, fuck it, yeah, everything's going to be there. Everything's there. Yeah, I'm very confident saying that, even though we're only, 3 episodes, going on our 4th the end of this week. But yeah, everything's gonna be there. I can see everything being there. I can see the orphan girl being there, or not the orphan girl, but the runaway girl being there, the orangutan, the captain with the fishy, like, aqua stand, all that shit's there. Devil 13's gonna be there, Death 13, they're all there. The Devil's gonna be there. Not Lucifer, but the fucking stand. They're all gonna be there. And this episode's animation, man, so good. This looks great. I think now I'm used to the art style. It looks really good. I'm so sorry for making the talk where I bitched about it looks old. It looks really good. I'm sorry. Seriously, of all of the things to apologize, the second talk I did, I now have to apologize about it because I feel like a dick because I didn't do it right. But that's all I really have to talk about in this installment of JoJo. Or not this installment of JoJo. This installment of ConoghCast Talk, where I finished up all the JoJo stuff I'm ever gonna do. Ever. Maybe? No. Probably not. But as the channel grows, we'll see. Because the channel just started. Also, I'd really like to thank THEAnimeHERO for being the first commenter on a video. Super thanks a lot, dude. Really like your channel. You got cool stuff. This has been Connory from the ConoghCast. If you like this not really video, like and subscribe. I make more of these, and if I get more subscribers, I'll make a lot more of these.